you excited about this new series? I'm telling you, I'm really excited. I'm so excited. I got a joke for you, huh? Are you ready? And this kind of has a little bit to do in some ways. I heard this joke. I thought it was so funny. I thought I'd bring it. Did you know that there's a new store in New York, and I'm just kind of, and it sells husbands. All you ladies, you know, if you're looking at all you single ladies, sells husbands. New York, right next to Macy's. It sells husbands, and where women can go in and find a husband. So here's the directions. Among the instructions at the store when you walk in, it's a description of how the store operates. You may visit this store only once. Okay, the store to find the perfect husband. One time you can only go there. There's 6 floors, and the value of the products goes up upon each floor. The shopper may choose any item from a particular floor, or may choose to go up, but they cannot go back down. Okay? So, a woman goes to the husband store to find a husband, and on the first floor, guess what she finds? She finds husbands, and these men have jobs. You know, she was intrigued, and she thought, you know, well, that's pretty good. That's better than my last boyfriend. They have jobs. She thought, that's pretty good, but I wonder what's on the second floor. So she goes to the second floor, and these men have jobs, but they also love kids. Huh? You know, I mean, this is pretty good. And she's like, wow, I mean, that's pretty great, you know. They have a job, love kids. Wow, you know. I just wonder what's on that third floor. So she goes up to the third floor, and these men, they have jobs, they love kids, and they're extremely good looking. She's like, whoa, all right. She's like, I could stop here, but, there's still 3 more floors. So she said, well, I'm going to go to the floor number 4. So she goes to floor number 4, and these men, wow, not only are they good looking, not only do they have jobs, not only do they love kids, but they help with housework. Huh? Come on, I mean, that's a man. Help with housework. And she is like, wow. It just keeps getting better and better. So she goes to the 5th floor, and on the 5th floor, they're good looking, they have jobs, they love kids, they help with housework, and they're extremely, beyond words, romantic. I mean, come on. What else could you want, really? I mean, jobs, love kids, help with housework, look good. I mean, romantic. And she's like, wow, it just keeps getting better and better. So she goes to the next floor, and she thinks, and upon arriving at the next floor, there's a sign that says, you are the 3,582,605th person or woman to be here. Proof that you cannot please a woman. Huh? Come on. And as we... It kind of has a little bit to do with, this morning, what we're going to be starting out with in this series. And the title of this morning's message, as we go into it, is, who do you think you are? And so often we spend our lifetime in our mind trying to measure up to somebody, to something, whether it's the voice of your wife or the voice of somebody else. But before we do that, I just kind of want to lay out what we're going to really be doing in this series, Minefield. Really what this series is, it's something the Lord laid onto my heart about 6 months ago. And, Minefield, it's the battlefield of the mind. There is a battle going on in your mind, whether you see it or not. And this video that played before this slide really, I think, exemplified that. There is a battle that's going on. People don't see what's going on in there, but I'm telling you, it's real. It's real. And, it's not about this war. It's about winning the battle, because if you don't win the battle, you can't win the war. And so if I could leave you with one thing this morning, if you could just win one battle today, just one. Maybe you lose some of the other ones, but take something. Maybe you blow up at your kids 10, just win one of them. Just hold in one and just win a battle, because it won't be long until you will have turned the war. And the statement, I guess I would say, the standalone statement for the series is, take your thoughts captive before they take you captive. Take your thoughts captive before they take you captive, because the enemy of your soul is after your mind. He wants to plant a voice, plant a thought in your mind to where now that is what grabs you. And so the way that this series is going to work is that video that you saw. Did anybody recognize that movie that was in that video? Help me out. The Patriot, right? The Patriot. And what we're going to be doing over these next 5 weeks is talking about how to win a war, how to win each battle, because it's in winning each battle that you'll win the war. And in this movie, you have the Patriot, which he is not part of the army per se. He is a volunteer fighter. He's a volunteer fighter, but the things that he did, the things that his people contributed helped turn the war. Because they won this battle, and they won a bunch of little battles. And so what I got in my heart to do was look at a war, look at a battlefield, and take 5 key things that I believe will allow you and I to win the war. If we can win this battle, man, we're going to gain some ground. If we can win this battle, we can gain some ground. If we can win this battle, we can gain some ground. And the one I want to hit on this morning is this. You remember in the story, there was the red coats, and they have the infantry, they have the cavalry, that's the people on the horses. They have cannons, that's the big black things that shoot metal balls. They have all the amazing tools, all these wonderful, they're red, they stand out, they got the buttons, the brass buttons, the stripes. They have different medals showing their rankings. And here you have Mel Gibson or the Patriot. You know what he's got? He's got overalls. Maybe that's how you feel sometimes. You got overalls, and you got a musket that was passed down it's your hunting gun. And it's rusted up because you use it, and you try to take care of it. And you got this little cow horn full of powder, and that's what you got. And you come onto the battlefield, and history states this, that the volunteer lines back in this war, okay, back in the war that declared our freedom, the lines of the volunteers, those that were not enlisted in the army, okay, those were the lines that time and time again would not hold. It wasn't that they all got killed, it's that they would not hold. They would not hold into their position. You know why they wouldn't hold into the position? Because they weren't confident in who they were. It just took hearing, doon, doon, doon. Nobody's playing the drums for me. Nobody's, playing the trumpet for me. And all of a sudden, they send out a spy. They're coming, and they're all kind of hidden, and they see them come in just perfect lines. Everything's put together. Maybe that's like somebody's life. The people on Facebook, how their life's all put together? It says just put together. Just put together perfectly. They got officers. We don't even know who's telling who to do what. And they're coming, and upon seeing somebody else, you know what happens to them? They begin to question who they are. They begin to question, what can I do? What can I do against something so great and so vast and so big? Why do you think they lined them up with all their troops on the front line? You think they'd be strategic? No, it was intimidation. I'm going to line up, and I'm going to come up right straight in front of you, and I'm going to pull up, and I'm going to shoot. I don't care if I get killed because we're going to mow you over, so you better run. And that's what happened time and time and time again. Until I watched this movie till about 2:30 in the morning a week and a half ago, and until the Patriot, until the volunteers began to say, we're not them, and we'll never be them, but we're us. And we can't fight this way. We can't line up toe-to-toe to them and compare ourselves to them because we'll lose every time. But what we can do is we know every deer trail, we know every valley, we know where to ambush them, we know, and we can hide. And it wasn't long, and they called him the ghost rider, the ghost guy. And he'd come in and he'd take a battle, and he'd take 30, 40 guys and take them out with just a few men. He'd win the battle. And then he'd win another battle, and he'd win another battle. And as the battle began to be won, and they won battles, all of a sudden the confidence of the volunteers went to a level that it had never been at before. And now they were very much a part of the war. They are what turned the war. So an incredible movie, I thought it was just awesome, and I thought, man, there's just so much in there. Not so much in the movie. It took me all the way till 2:30 in the morning to finally get something I could talk about today. And I'm like, God, I thought I was going to get all these spiritual revelations, and instead I'm just like getting tired, and I got to get up at 6. Well, the Lord began to speak to my heart about not so much about the movie, but about strategies for a war. The strategies for a war. And so that's what we're going to be talking about this morning. We're going to be talking about, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? You know, that's a question that comes into our mind. Many times it comes from deep within after you mess up. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Or there's that question, who do you're asking yourself, who am I? Who am I, really? And when you don't know who you are, and when your confidence is shaken, when you don't feel good about yourself, you know what happens inevitably? And I watch this happen, especially in young couples. People they have no confidence in themselves, and we're going to get into the underlying issue about confidence in yourself in a moment. But when you don't feel good about yourself, you know what you do? And you can take a look at this within yourself. You pull the trigger on others. When you don't feel good about yourself and confident about yourself, I mean, I can tell you, just the other day this happened. We're out and we're going to the mall. I don't know why we were going to the mall, but I know, we had the ice day, okay? And so everything shut down. And I thought, well, let's go have fun in Fort Smith, because I don't mind driving on the ice. I thought, let's go. So we go to Fort Smith, and it's not as bad over there, and we're having fun. And Evan's like, well, let's go to the mall. I'm like, okay, let's go to the mall. Well, upon turning into the mall, I turn in the place kind of where it's main entrance, okay, the main entrance of the mall, kind of by the food court, okay? So I take a left into there, okay? And then Evan says to me, which is my wife, I'm Pastor Renee, if you don't know, okay? Glad to have you. Seriously, glad to have you here this morning. Seriously. Thank you for being here and worshiping with us. But my wife, Evan, she says, I don't want to go in here. I want to go in by Dillard's. And so I had taken a left, boom, and I'm going to go in by the food court and park. And we're just going to walk right in because I thought it was close to where the store that we needed to go in was. And she says, no, I don't need to go in here. I need to go through the Dillard's. So I take a left, but then I'm like, okay, whoop. Well, upon going this way and going this way, somebody was really determined on this icy day to be driving 40 miles an hour and get into the parking garage. Because I had just taken a left, and I didn't even really pass the place where I could take and turn a right, and they honk their horn at me. And you know what I did? Why don't you tell me where to go in? If you know you want to go to the mall, and you know where you need to go, why didn't you just tell me? Because I was upset that somebody got upset at me. Anybody ever done that before? You get upset that somebody got upset at you because of the lack of your confidence in what decision that you just made? And so then instead of saying, oh man, I just messed up, instead of just keeping going the way I was going and then coming back around, I make a reaction move, and it was my fault. Who has the wheel? Me. But what happened? Because I didn't feel good about my decision at that time, I had to pull the trigger on my wife. And she said, don't get mad at me. I wasn't trying to. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? And immediately I was like, yeah, that's stupid. And why did I even get upset just instantly, like 0 to just, well, next time tell me if you want to go into Dillard's. And she's like, God, don't get upset. And I'm like, okay, you're right. And I'm just, my brain's still thinking on about it. There's a battlefield still going on in my brain. As I drive past the parking garage around and go park at the entrance of Dillard's by the women's section, park there. And then I was about to get out, I still had to say it. But seriously, next time, tell me where you want to go, because if you know where, because I don't know where you want to go, just tell me, okay? Because that, And I was like, you know what, never mind, that doesn't even matter. Because I realized what was happening. Or here, let me say this. Maybe you don't pull the trigger on others, maybe you pull the trigger on yourself. Maybe you begin to take yourself captive because who do you think you are? And you messed up again. Who do you think you are? You can't come to God like that. You're supposed to be, I thought you were a Christian. I thought you were a leader. I thought you served. I thought this. I can't believe you. Who do you think you are? And you take yourself captive from your company, from the church. You mess up. You do the thing you said you weren't going to do, and it happens to be Saturday night. Let me give you testimony of something that happened. Well, I'll get to that later in the story, in the movie, in the sermon. You think, you take yourself captive. And so this is huge. It's so huge to me to understand that that there's conflict going on, and it may be because maybe you attack somebody else, or maybe you're attacking yourself. This is why people cut, because they don't like who they are. So I'm going to attack myself. Maybe you don't cut with a razor blade. Maybe you just cut yourself. You stupid. Can't believe you did that. It's so stupid. You know better than that. You know better than that. And maybe you know better than that. You know better than that is something that you've heard all your life. I would say this. I would say the church has been very influential in this voice. I would call it a voice of less in your life. Instead of the voice of more, God is a voice of more in your life. He wants to give you life to more abundantly. He wants to He says you can do greater things. He says the plans I have for you, they're great. And He's this voice of more in your life. But I believe that the church has been really influential in being the voice of less in people's life. You know better than that. What are you doing that? You know better than that. You need to stop that. Instead of being the voice of more, or maybe it was a coach. Man, you're never going to amount to anything. Man, you know what? Why don't you just go sit on the bench? Maybe it was your parents. And this maybe hits real close to home. I got B's, Mom. I got B's. Why didn't you get A's? And maybe you got A's, and you're like, yeah, I got A's. All right. And you're so excited. And there's that one mark. You know what it is? It's a B. And you know what gets asked when you get home? Hey, what about the B? What's going on here? Instead of being celebrated for all the good things. Maybe I'll say this, and this needs to stop. Maybe it's your husband or it's your wife that's the voice of less. Don't you know how to keep the house clean? I mean, seriously, that's all you have to do, and you can't even do that. I didn't say that at my house. Disclaimer there. But or you hear this voice that's coming from your wife. Man, you can't even. Maybe it's that past boyfriend that they dated in high school and they're successful, and you hear this that they got this great business and they're successful and they're making all this money, and your wife just says something like this. Wow, that's so cool. Look at what he's doing. You know what you hear? Look at what you're doing. You're not providing the way that I would like to be provided for. And you don't know that it's even being said, but it's said. And it's said up here, and it's this battle that's going on. It's going on. And so what is it that shapes our view of ourselves? It's the way other people talk to us growing up. It's the way other people approach us. But more than anything, I think what shapes our view of ourselves is the way that we see God sees us. I wrote it down like this. I don't want to mess this piece up. You see, part of the way you see yourself is based on the way you think God sees you. The way you see yourself is based on the way you think God sees you. But the way you think He sees you determines how you see Him. How do you see God? Determines how you think He sees you. How do you think He sees you this morning? How do you think in this? Who do you think you are? Because that doesn't really matter who you think you are. It matters who He thinks you are. And if you're ever going to win in life, if you're ever going to win in this battle that's going on, because the enemy, your enemy Satan, he is after your soul. He wants to take you down. So you need to have a higher, you need to stop trying to figure out and improve who you are and start improving your knowledge of who God says you are. We try to improve ourselves or prove ourselves. How many of you have ever done that? You try to prove yourself. If I can build this house, if I can lose this much weight, if I can have these biceps, if I can have abs, if I can, I don't know what it is. If I can shoot big bucks. I don't know what it is. What are you trying to do to prove yourself? If I can have a successful business and make at least 6 figures a year, that's pretty good. Keeping up with got to keep up with somebody. What are we comparing ourselves with? Let me ask you this. Why are we trying to be anybody else but ourselves? Because we don't think who we are is good enough. But so what I want to do this morning, rather than just keep talking about things that maybe sound good, I want to look at what the Word says and what God says. The basics of what you and I have to understand is this. How does God see you? How does God see you? Because that's what matters. Who do you think you are? Doesn't matter. Who does He think you are? And so I want to just get 3 things this morning that in the middle of a battle, if you can remember these things, you will come out victorious. If you can just remember these few things, you will come out winning. You will come out with joy. You'll come out of the battle. You won't stop short. And the first one I want to hit on this morning is this: the fact that the way God sees you is one that's chosen. The way that God sees you is one that's chosen. You're saying, what do you mean, Pastor Nate, one that's chosen? Oh, you're going to bring up a scripture about how you're chosen. God chose you, John 3:16, and all that, and it's just going to go, whoof, whoof. Let me just kind of break it down for you real quick. Anybody play kickball? Ever? Basketball? Any sport? What happens? You get a captain, and typically the captains are the studs. You know, the ones that can kick the ball the farthest, or that think that they're the best, or that are just such a loudmouth that they're like, I'm a captain! Because they know they won't ever get picked. But that's what happens is, you get up there, and let me just put yourself back in these shoes. And you're lined up. And it's like, yeah, I'll take John. I'll take Peter. The other one's, I'll take Jim. No, I'll take Ralph. And then, here's Nate standing there. And then they're like, I'll take Betty. And you're like, shut up. Right? But yet in your mind, you're like, am I going to get picked? And then they're like, I'll take Susan, and you can have Nate and Chris. It's like you get. Anybody ever been there? You are part of the double. It's kind of like, in the NFL draft, NBA. It's like, I'll give you this guy. I mean, this got to hurt their ego. I'll give you this guy, and this guy, and X amount of millions of dollars for that guy. I mean, dang, I got traded, and who I wasn't enough. They had to take me and my friend and my friend's friend and somebody else just to compare, just to measure up. And it's kind of one of these things that we laugh about, but that's because it wasn't real right now. And what if, let me ask you this, what if the person that maybe didn't have the skills got picked first? What if somebody, you know who it is in your mind. You can think back to middle school or high school, and you can think of the athlete. The athlete, the guy that is strong, that maybe he's good looking, he's fast, and he's a captain. Maybe you're pretty much not all those things, at least in your mind, because you've been listening to voices too long. And you line up and you hate PE. Matter of fact, you wish back when you were in school, you wish you could opt out of it like they can nowadays. And you line up against the wall, and this captain, we'll call him John, he steps out there, and all of his buddies think they're going to get picked, and this guy gets picked. He's like, I'll take you. And you kind of are like, yeah, no, come here. Got you. We're going to do this. Come on, high five. We got this. Let's go. What did that do for them? It just said that they were chosen, that they weren't a leftover. I saw one of those things that we don't really understand, but God wanted you before you were wantable, before you thought you were wantable. I'm going to increase my vertical. We're going to put on those shoes. I can't remember what are they called? Help me out. Strength shoes. You put on these shoes to increase your vertical. I'm going to work on my game in the off season so that when I come back in, I'm going to get buff. I'm going to lose all this baby fat. You come back in. God wanted you before you thought you were wantable. You got to remember this, that it's by grace, Ephesians 2:8, it's by grace that you've been saved, a gift. A gift. And I think we don't really put that up there so you can see it, Ephesians 2:8, but we don't really understand what it's saying there when it says a gift. A gift. So here's what we think. There was a birthday party yesterday. I didn't end up going to it. I was hunting, and Anyway, I didn't get one. I missed. Excuse me. God saved you by His grace. It's a gift. It's a gift from God. And at this birthday party, you know what you get? Gifts. You know why? Why? Because it's your birthday. On your anniversary or Valentine's Day, you know what you get? Flowers or a date. Or you know why? Why? Nothing. There you go. Good one. You know why? Because it's your birthday. It's your anniversary. Christmas, you know why you get gifts? It's because there's a reason. But it says here, and I don't think we read this, it's by grace. You know what? Grace, we hear these two words, grace and mercy, all the time. Mercy is this. I'm going to say it slow because it took me a while to get it. Mercy is not getting what you deserve. Man, you don't get it. You don't get what you deserve. When you deserve something, you don't get it because of God's mercy. Thank you, Lord. But you know what grace is? It's getting something that you absolutely don't deserve. I don't deserve. It's not my birthday. So why am I getting a gift? Why am I getting a gift? It'd be like me giving a gift, perfectly wrapped gift that has something inside that's wonderful. And I offer it and I say, who wants a gift? I got a gift right here. I want to give it to somebody. Who wants it? Here it is. You know how many of you in here would raise your hand? Not very many. You know why? Because you didn't earn it. I'd say, hey, here's $100. You know, if I didn't say it was a $100 bill, if it's just a gift. Anybody want this gift? Everybody would sit there and look at me. You go. And somebody would be bold enough to go, yeah, hey, I'll take a chance. I'll look like an idiot in front of everybody and receive a gift from pastor in the middle of service. Even though that's really awkward. Come on up here and get it. I mean, I got to get out of my seat. Because we're so used to having to earn something to receive it. We're so used to having to live up to a level. I only get the gift. I can only ask for something big when it's my birthday. My kids are terrible at that. Not asking for something big. They do that all the time. Matter of fact, I went to go hunting for 2 days, and as I'm leaving, Samuel says to me, "Bring me a treat. Make it a good one." It's like, it's a treat. What can't? You know what? This morning I come into church. My kids they actually slept in my room by the bed because I didn't get home till real late last night. And the first time I see him here in church, in passing, "Did you bring me a treat?" What did you do? Nothing. That's the point. You're my son. I'm your father. Amen. What did you do? Well, I did a lot of things that I shouldn't deserve a treat. That's what God's mercy's for. That's what God's mercy's for. But He says He chose you. You know when He chose you? Romans 5:8 says, while you were yet sinners. You got to remember that you're chosen. That while you were yet sinners, He chose you. John 15:16 says this. Because some of us have this, religious complex that we think we're pretty good. But you got to remember, you did not choose God. He chose you. John 15:16. He chose you. You didn't choose Him. You think, man, I'm blessed because I made this choice. You know why you're blessed? Because God decided to send Jesus. Here what must I do? What must I do? He asked, the disciples ask, what must I do in John 6:29? What must I do to receive? What must I do? There's got to be something. There's got to be something. You know what Jesus said? Just believe that I am who I say I am. Just believe. Well, that kind of just takes all the earning out of it, doesn't it? I hope that this message this morning about you understanding that you're chosen, about you and that our church would embody that. Because it seems like the church has been real hard on the down and out. It's what gave the church. It's the body that gives Jesus the bad name. Oh, I hope this church. My prayer is that this church would embody who He is. That we would let people know, man, God chose you. He loves you. and that he chose you, and he wants all of you, baggage and all. Every bit of who you are, he wants it. Bring it all to me. We think we got to clean up ourselves before we can come, and then we can come. He says, no, come, and then I'll do the work on you. I can't. You don't know what I did last night. You know, it's that thing that I said I wouldn't do. Actually, it wasn't even last night. It was this morning. I did it again. I can't come to church. I can't come to the Lord. Because who do you think you are? And there's nobody there to blame it on, so you have to see it's you. So you pull yourself away and you take yourself captive from the very thing that would bring blessing. I love this. 1 Peter 2:9. And I think if we grab a hold of this, it says that we are a chosen people. It says you are not like that, for you are a chosen people. You are a royal priest, holy nation, God's very own possession. He says, you're mine. That's why he says, I'm going to send Jesus to purchase, because I want him to be mine. Because if I paid for him, guess whose they are? They're mine. And here's what he says. As a result, when you understand that you've been chosen not because of anything that you have done, that he chose you when you didn't measure up in any way, and you were his pick, you know what it causes you to do? It causes you can show others the goodness of God. God's so good. I didn't have this. And so when you're in this battle, who do you think you are? And I'm the one that God chose. When I missed it. When I didn't have the goods. Because I don't. He chose. He chose me. He chose me. I want to use this example, 1 Samuel 16. 1 Samuel 16, verse 1. And this is the story of David. How many of you have ever heard of David? Everybody in here has heard of David, right? David, King David, David and Goliath. Everybody's heard of David. In some way or another, you've heard of David. But I don't know if you've heard this about David. You know, this inferiority complex, maybe? David? No, not the king. Not the guy that killed Goliath. Not that guy. Let's see what's going on here. It says, now the Lord said to Samuel, you have mourned long enough for Saul. I've rejected him as king of Israel, so fill your flask with oil and go to Bethlehem, find a man named Jesse who lives there, for I have selected one of his sons to be my king. Jesse, the father of a bunch of guys, a bunch of kids. He said, Samuel the prophet was sent out there to go find the king. So put up verse 7 through 13. And so the Lord, as he goes and he takes a donkey out there with some goods and to bless Jesse, because Saul would have had a fit if he said we're finding a new king. But so he goes out there, and the Lord said to Samuel on his way, don't judge by his appearance or height. Don't measure him up. How many times do you and I measure up somebody? And I'm guilty of that. I've seen people do amazing things that I didn't think could do it. Because I put a measurement on them. Maybe you do that with your kids. Maybe you do that with your wife. Maybe your husband. Don't do that. This is what God said. Don't measure them. Don't measure them. Don't measure their appearance or height, for I have rejected him. The Lord doesn't see things the way you see them. People judge by the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Then Jesse told his son, Abinadab, to step forward. So who do you think Abinadab is? He's the cream, right? He is P90X physique. You know, he got the smile. When he smiles, sparkles come off his teeth. You know. And Abinadab stepped forward and walked in front of Samuel. How do you think his walk looked like? What's up? What's up, Sam? How you doing, Sam? But the Lord said, but Samuel said, that's not the one. So Jesse, he thought, I wonder, Shemiah. No, that's not him. So Shemiah must have been the next guy, right? These names, huh? Neither is this one the one the Lord has chosen. The next verse. In the same way, all 7 of Jesse's sons were presented to Samuel. All 7. All 7. Did you know David wasn't even mentioned? All 7 of his sons? What do you mean all 7? I thought there were 8. But Samuel said to Jesse, the Lord has not chosen any of these. Guys, he's not chosen any of these. Verse 11. Then Samuel asked, are these all of your sons? I mean, he didn't even bother to go get them. He doesn't measure up. He's that ADD dum-dum. He can't do that. And then he says, there is still the youngest, Jesse replied, but he's out in the field watching the sheep and goats. But he's out in the field. You know where he's at? He's out just like those shepherds. You know, the people that don't measure up. The people that are kind of the outcasts. They're out there all the time. They don't have the interaction and the parties that everybody else gets. They don't get picked on in a good way. You know what he said? Send for him. Oh, I think that is such a powerful line right there. And you got to hear God saying that about you. Get him. Get that one. Yeah, but he doesn't measure up. He did this. He's done that. I said I wasn't going to do that. How can I do that? How can God use me in that way? Go get him. I want him. That's the one I want. That's the one I want. Sam said, we will not sit down and eat. God says, I will do nothing. I will stop at nothing. Because you remember, Samuel is a prophet. He was the voice of God to the people in that day. And God said, I will do nothing. I can't sleep. I have to put something in place until we see him. Until he's brought here. Until he has an opportunity to see what I have in store for him. That I chose him. I'm going to stop at nothing. This is why Jesus was sent. This is why Abraham and all these things, he laid the groundwork. This is why what you read here, all this is the story of the Old Testament. What was laid in order so that we could have what is. In verse 12. So Jesse sent for him. He was dark and handsome with beautiful eyes. And the Lord said to him, why? But here's the deal. Who is describing this guy? I think this is Samuel. That's not who he was, because that's not who all of his dad said who he was. That's not who his mom said he was. That's why he's out there. It wasn't just because he's the youngest, and I'll give you another scripture here in a moment to back it up. Oh, he's this completely amazing man. I think it was God calling that out of him that brought it up and out of him and allowed him to become the king that people wanted to follow. What if you got picked first? What if you got picked first? What would you got picked at one time, and someone was the voice of more in your life, the voice of God in your life, and they said, I want him. What if you wouldn't have got picked that time, and now you're doing this job, or you don't have a job, and everything in your life you feel is just terrible, but if you would have gotten picked one time, just that one time when it meant so much to you, and you got picked, and it created this, man, I can do this. And all of a sudden now you're the owner of a Fortune 500 company or whatever you would say is successful. But that's not what God says is successful, but I'm just telling you the difference. Handsome with beautiful eyes, and the Lord said, this is the one. Anoint him. This is the guy. Go on to verse 13. So David stood there among his brothers. Samuel took, what do you think that was like? Who do you think you are? Oh, I'm telling you, that thought was going in his mind. Who do you think you are? And he's standing there kind of intimidated. You know, he's the youngest kid. Samuel took the flask of oil and he brought and anointed David with the oil. And the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David from that day on. You know what that means? When you don't think you measure up, God has the greatest plans. So if you don't feel like you measure up this morning and you've missed it, just know this morning, God chose you. And remember this in the battle that you're in, that he chose you. I mean, he loves you so much that he traded Jesus for you. You think of that. Think of that when you don't think you measured up. While you were unwantable in your idea, in your mind, you were unwantable. He said, I want him, and I want him so bad, I'll give Jesus for him. I'll give my very best. I'll give my only. You are chosen. You are chosen. You got to remember that. You know, I said I was going to give a backup scripture. So David said this, Psalms 27, verse 10. He says, even if my mother and father forsake me, even if they don't think I can measure up, even if they, you know what? God won't. When somebody else doesn't think you measure up, the people that are the dearest and they don't believe in you, guess who does? God does. The Lord will hold me close. You know, say, I want that one. Precious. You got to remember that. Got to remember that. The second thing I think we need to remember is this. And when we're in a battle, we got to know this. We got to know that we're forgiven. Oh, we got to know that we're chosen, but we got to know that we're forgiven. And that is probably the hardest thing ever sometimes. And I'll give you this story. I was, I don't know, 9th or 10th grade. I was going to summer camp. I was a counselor. And when I was younger, I had, you know, and I don't know, I'm just going to be real because I don't know how to be anything else, all right? When I was younger in 4th grade, went over to a neighbor's house, got addicted to pornography in one summer. Every night, not every night, but most of the nights, we were down there with the Playboy channel. 4th grade. I mean, I wasn't even in 4th grade. I was going into 4th grade. I didn't know what it was. I was like, what's this? Then we moved. We weren't even there a year by the grace of God. Not getting what I deserved or getting what I didn't deserve because I deserved a whole lot. We moved. And we moved 45 minutes away. There was no computer, so I never had access to anything like that. It's too easy nowadays to have access to junk. And this is why you're seeing more people stumble. Before it was in the gas station, or you'd have to try to find something, some way. It was only the real bad people that had it. And so that's how I felt, real bad. And here I am 5 years later, 6 years later. Man, I'm telling you, my life's changed, turned around. I met my wife in 6th grade, 7th grade, and I just had a hunger for the Lord, and I heard the Lord say this to me. Someone came up to me when I sat I got invited to sit at the front row of church with her. I got chose. And I remember there's a pastor behind me. There's a pastor, and it was a fairly large church at that time, probably 3,000 to 5,000 people. And I got to sit in the front. I got chose. And this pastor lady said this to me. She told my mother-in-law, he's got the call of God all over his life. And then Susan, my mother-in-law, told me that, and I said, no. I couldn't believe it. Even at that, in 8th grade, I couldn't believe it. Even though I had been separated from I couldn't believe it. And she said, she went and got her, and she said, I need you to tell him what you told me. And she said, I want you to know you got the call of God all over your life. And I thought, he chose me. But back to the story in that moment, so I'm like, I'm doing good. I'm like, thank you, Lord, for choosing me. And all of a sudden, my outcome of life completely changed. Because somebody wanted me. God wanted to still use me, even when I didn't measure up. And I was a counselor. I was serving in church all the time. Here's camp. Junior high camp. I'm in senior high. And I got a bunch of kids that I get to counsel. So excited. Camp's in the morning. Oh, man, God always speaks so loud at that place where there's nothing but a lake and these cabins that I wouldn't sleep in any other time. But God is there. I'm telling you, I'm so excited. Everybody had to go somewhere. Everybody was out of the house. Everybody was gone. I don't know where they were, but they were gone. And I'm packing because I got to leave at 5 in the morning. All the counselors have to be there before everybody. All right, I need that music. All right, so I didn't want you all to have to hear that. So here's what happened. Everybody's gone, and so I'm like, I gotta get to bed, and it's getting dark, and we're in this great big house. I remember just running around thinking, I need a flashlight because the counselors have to be well prepared. I had tons of candy. I'm like, I'm ready to just. I got my CD player and all these cool CDs like Avalon and Stephen Curtis Chapman. I'm diving in. I'm going deep in over my head. Okay. I don't know. Back in the day, that was cool, okay? And so I'm all ready, and I got candy, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, going through the list, what to bring, what not to bring, your Bible, your clothes, no tanks, no hand grenades, no, okay? And they actually put that on that list, and I'm like, flashlight, I got to get a flashlight. So you know what I do? I run downstairs, and I go to the junk drawer, the drawer that, has the flashlights in it. Open the drawer. You know what's in that drawer? Everything's wonderful. Everything's great. You know what's in that drawer? I pull it open. A centerfold. Something I hadn't seen in 5 years. A magazine. Naked lady, right there. 10th grade kid. Shut the door. Walk away. Oh my gosh. I started sweating immediately. Run upstairs. Run back upstairs. This big winding staircase. Okay, everything's in order. Everything's in order. Everything's in order. All right. Okay. All right. Laying in bed. Everybody's gone. What's happened? There's a battle going on. And I yielded to the battle. Who do you think you are? You're going to be a counselor tomorrow, and you're going to tell people about Jesus, and you're supposed to be leading these kids? Who do you think you are? I lost the battle. But I didn't just lose it that day. I lost it for a week. It wasn't until the last night at camp, the last night, that I would receive forgiveness. Maybe you said you wouldn't do it again. But you got to see this right here in Hebrews chapter 9, verse 14. You got to understand this. And no one told me this. Nobody's ever told me this. Just think how much more the blood of Christ will purify your conscience from sinful deeds. The blood of Jesus wasn't just to give me salvation and a ticket to heaven. But he died not so that I could feel sorry, but so that I could feel forgiven. He died not so that I could feel bad, but that I could feel loved. The blood of Jesus was shed so that your conscience could be purified. Wow. And it was on that last night when just the love of God, like hot water, melts ice. And that ice had me bound. I wasn't moving. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even pour into these kids. Oh, I could press play and throw out candy and play basketball and do that, but I couldn't engage in worship. I couldn't. Because who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And that last night, just the love of God washed over me. And I think that's my greatest prayer even this morning, is that the love of God would wash over you this morning. That you would melt in His love. That you would just, the things that held you, the thing that bound you, would just melt. Your past mistakes just melt. Because it doesn't matter who you think you are. It matters who He thinks He is. It matters who He thinks you are, not who you think you are. And I'm just like, wow. Just melted it all away. And I just remember just weeping. The things of God make me cry. He just can touch me the way nobody else can. Just began to weep. Say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? And did you know, let me just say this, you were never meant to ask for forgiveness. What? What are you talking about, Pastor? Is this some radical grace message? Yeah, it is. But let me explain. You were never meant to ask for forgiveness. You know what you were meant to do? Just tell Him I messed up. Because you confess that you messed up, He says, I'm faithful and just to forgive you. It all goes back to Him. It's not you saying a prayer just right. Oh, God, forgive me, and oh, just please forgive me. Just please. He says, just tell me you need me. Just confess. Man, I messed up again. I messed up. And He says, because who's like our God? You tell me who's like our God. Let me put up there Micah. This is an amazing verse. Micah, a crazy verse that I still cannot wrap my brain around. Micah 7:18, it says, where is another God like you? Is there anybody like our God? Is there any God? Where is another God like you where you don't have to give something to get something? He gives you something whether you deserve it or not. And then he doesn't give you what you do deserve. Who is like our God? There's none. There is nobody who pardons the guilt of our remnant, overlooking the sin of his special people. You will not stay angry with your people forever because, oh, I love this. Because you delight in showing unfailing love. If you have a King James Bible, it's translated mercy. Because you delight in mercy. You know what it means to delight? Let me put it to you this way. God's favorite part of the day, I'm so excited I get to go do that, is showing you mercy. Not giving you what you deserve. I messed up. He's like, that's okay, because I'm God, and I love you. And you're forgiven. What do you mean? I already paid for that. His name is Jesus. So don't feel guilty, and you don't have to attack others, but would you stop attacking yourself? Don't keep your mind. Hold you close. Got to know that you're forgiven. And so you got to know that you're chosen in this battle when you're going on, man, God chose me. I can do it. I can do it in this mind that I don't have enough for the end of the month. And I know that I'm chosen. And because I know that I'm God's and he wants me and he hasn't left me. I know that he's thinking about me. And that he's already working on the solution for the problem before I ever knew there was a problem. Why? Because I'm his. That's God. Remember that. But then remember that you're forgiven. That you're forgiven. And then the last one I think is this, and I love this. You got to know this, that you're invited. It's one thing to be chosen. It's like, yeah, God loves me. He sent his son. And you know why he did that? Because he's good and he's God. That's just what he does, But you got to know that you're invited. That you're invited. Oh, I want you to see Revelation 3:20. Revelation 3:20. He says, look, hey, everybody. In the middle of a battle, remember this. Look, I stand at the door and knock. You know why he's standing? He says, if you hear my voice and open the door, you know what he says? I'll come in and I'll tell you everything that you ever done wrong. I'll come in and talk about you know better. No, he doesn't say that, did he? You are invited. He says, I'm standing at the door and knocking because I just want to come in. And guess what? I want to eat. You ever, in high school, lunchroom's full, and somebody comes down and, that seat's taken. I'm saving that for my friend. Oh, yeah, Evan's sitting there. You can't sit there. Everybody knows that's where Evan sits. She sits next to me. So you don't even, you can sit across, but not there. But what would it be like to be walking in the lunchroom and to have Jesus say, Can I sit with you? Or you're walking around and the guy that's just your icon says, he sees you walking with your tray. Someone's like sticking their foot out, you feel, and he says, hey! Me? He's like, yeah, come sit with me. I just want to talk with you. I just want to be with you. You're invited. You are invited to come in and share a meal together as friends. See, this is really what Christianity is about. It's not about a do thing. That's what the law was about. Christianity is about being friends with the Lord. Interacting. Man, I messed up. Man, you know how you talk to your friends? Man, I just totally blew it. I just lost my temper and just blew it at my kids. And they're like, hey, man, it's all right. I've done that too. How come we give people more interaction than God? He said, I just want to be a friend. Just want to be a friend. Revelation chapter 22. I love this. He says, come. This is God. He says, the Spirit and the bride. That's you. He says, come. Let anyone who hears us say, come. Let anyone who is thirsty, come. You ever feel like you just want to eat with the Lord? Like maybe you're here this morning and you haven't got to spend time with him lately. You know, because you didn't know that you were chosen. You thought you were messed up, too bad, too far, too this. Yeah, you did it again. So what now? You need to know you're forgiven. What do you mean I'm forgiven? I just messed up. No, you're forgiven. My role is to let him know I messed up. He said, I'm faithful, I'm just. He said, there's nobody like me. You know why? Because my favorite part of the day is when you come to me and you say, help. Help. And lastly, knowing this, that not only am I chosen, not only am I forgiven, but he wants me to come over with him. And I can't tell you how many times, rather than pulling the trigger on somebody else, I've held myself captive. I don't deserve to go sit down. I don't deserve that. And I just back away. Just back away. But you got to know, yes, you are invited. And he said, just come and drink. Just come and share something with me. Interesting fact. When we take communion, you know what he did? He took the cup and he said, take this cup. And they shared the same cup. They shared. He said, come and share in who I am. A God of love, a God of peace. Come, and you're invited. I'm a God that's more than enough. And there's nothing too hard for me. I don't know how it's going to work out. I don't know. You don't have to. You just got to come. You're invited. And I just want to do that this morning. Every head bowed, every eye closed. I just want to make this clear. Maybe just even that last thing, that he wants me to come. You're at the top of his list. You're at the top of his list. And maybe there's things that have kept you from coming. And why? Why would there be things that keep you from coming? Why would it be such a battle in your mind? Because Satan would love nothing more than to see you destroyed. No hope. No peace. No joy. But I want you to hear this loud and clear this morning. You're chosen. You're forgiven. And would you come? Would you come? You are invited to come and meet with me this morning. If you haven't met with Jesus in a long time, I just want right now, I want you to just open your heart and just say this. Say yes. Would you come? Yes. Thank you for inviting me. Just say that in your heart. Yes, I'll come. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for forgiving me. Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for Jesus. Here I am. Here I am. If you've never received Jesus, maybe you've never came to him because you thought I had to clean something up so that I could. Right where you're at, in your seat between you and the Lord, I want to extend an invitation because the Spirit of the Lord is upon me and he's anointed me to proclaim liberty to the captive, to set the captive free, to invite you this morning to the table with Jesus. He is saying, would you come? And you say, what must I do? And he'd say this to you, just believe. believe this. Believe. And he says, just say it. Say it with your mouth that I believe Jesus. So this morning, if that's you, between you and the Lord, just repeat this prayer in your heart. Just say, Father, this morning, I believe that you sent Jesus because you chose me, because you loved me. And he died on the cross for my sins. And I am forgiven. Today, I make you my Lord. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for your help. Thank you for wanting me to come to you. In Jesus' name, amen and amen. Oh, praise God. I'm telling you, the battle of your mind, it's all too real. We need to not deny conflict, but we need to address it. We need to address it, and we need to remind ourselves of those things. And I'm chosen, so shut up. There's too many voices. You know, there's one that we're to be listening to, that's the commander. The commander. The commander.